So tell me why it was important for you to be on this call with me today.
I had sort of like listened through your stuff through Stacy, and
Okay.
I had kind of like listened to a little bit of it and kind of got interested in it. And I listened to your podcast, and it just really resonated with me. And there were parts of it that I had never heard before. And I'm sort of like one of those people, I feel like I'm kind of like both left and right. So I'm like, I understand the skepticism, but I'm willing to sort of like walk both paths.
Uh-huh.
And so I just felt like there was a lot with it that just resonated as new to me. And the struggles
New.
that I'm having sort of like entering this new business, entrepreneurial sort of like facet of my life, I feel like some of the struggles that came up in just a little bit that I knew about my reading, I was sort of like, yeah, that's resonating with me. That is definitely a struggle that I'm having. So so that's kind of like, I feel like I'm conflicted. Like I was looking at my cross and this and that and the cross attend. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not, yeah, I get that totally.
Yeah. It's like, how did this little chart on the internet know so much about me? I didn't even know all these things about me quite yet. That's
Yeah,
feeling.
it's
Yes.
interesting. Yeah, it's been sort of interesting. And I'm like, all right, that is sort of like I would have used different words, but then when I started like delving more into the meanings, I was just like, no, that rings, that resonates. So I thought, you know what, this is a good time because I've always felt like I can pretty much make anything I want to happen. Like I don't have those more common struggles. It's
Mm.
more been a struggle of committing to it and feeling like, okay, this is the path I'm meant to be on versus just like, okay, I feel like I'm very conflicted in some ways in
Hmm.
terms of what I want to do. It's not whether I can do, it's like, do I really want to do that? And
Ah.
so I feel like that's more where my conflict lies.
Yeah. So
Um,
what do you think? Well, no, let me just ask, what do you hope this call will help you with?
Probably just sort of maybe some sort of insights into how to trust myself more.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Just in my decisions. It's not really in my capabilities. I feel very capable of doing whatever I want to do.
Hmm.
But I also feel like it's been a lot of like start, stop, start, stop. And for maybe this says a lot about my sign, but it's really like about what I want to do. I'm really a kind of divine believer in like everybody's sort of like is needs to walk their own path and needs to, make their own mistakes. And so I'm not really trying to change anyone as much as I feel like I'm more of like an inspirer. And so it's like, how do I want to use that tool?
Okay. So what do you do in your business?
Right now I just got certified in coaching,
Okay. So
and I'm
how do you
sort of
help people?
um right now I feel like it's sort of defining what they want, which is what I'm looking for myself. So, when they say like people coach from their own sort of like place of growth,
Mhm, mhm,
it's like I'm trying to define that for myself.
mhm.
And I feel like I have um I've kind of like gathering up of all of my experiences and like what I really enjoy doing. And I just turned 50. So I'm sort of like, all right, what is the second half going to be like? And what do I want to do? And that is what I'm trying to craft in a more thoughtful way
Mhm.
versus just like, oh, you're good at that. You should do that
Yeah.
because I can do all that stuff. I'm not, real materialistic. So I don't feel like, when you read about a lot of these coaches, it's like, I had all this money and I did all this. And it was more like my path is more of um, like a, like really like, I feel like I need to have purpose in what I do, and more so like I'm sort of finding through the coaching and like listening to other people, I'm like, I don't think this is like as common as I thought it was. So like, most people are like, I want to buy this and so I do this and so I can buy that, or I want to have this and so I do this. And I feel like I'm a little bit more larger vision focused,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because what's happening is your soul is like, we're here to do different things. We're here to do the bigger things. And in order to do that, it's a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you've got the material thing handled. The reason you're not necessarily motivated by materials because you have the material, you have what you want. Is that true?
Um, I mean, yes and no. I feel like I would like to have more um autonomy.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm never like I've really like I've always sort of kidded about the fact that my money is a closed system. If I need to have $1,000 will show up somehow. But it's not like I have, and I wouldn't even like typify it as being like a non-abundance sort of mindset. I mean, I mean, I don't feel like lack in that way. But for me lately, it's been more about control to do the things that I, could
Yeah.
dream about. It's like I have to front load it. I have to
Independence.
know how the dream can happen.
Independence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I think is interesting is what's coming up is the first thing you said is, I want to learn how to trust myself. And then you said, I really want to help other people get what they want. And you're right. We teach other people what we want the most or need the most, right? Because we're always a few steps ahead of other people. We're always just a few steps ahead of our fractal line, our people. I call I don't know how deep you are into my stuff, but
Yeah,
fractal line is
familiar.
the people, our ideal clients are fractal line. In my world over here, it's not ideal clients, it's fractal line.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to impact them and to create trust with them so that there is a transaction of money happening, we have to already know what we want.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm kind of hearing, Tara, is you're like, oh, wait a minute, there might be something to like a soul's purpose and like the bigger picture and who I am even in the game that we're all in, like my part in this role, this play.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how can I actually move this into a business
Mm-hmm.
to create money through it so that I can get what I want, which is autonomy, freedom,
Mm-hmm.
and help the people who are actually wanting help. But I think what's missing is you don't trust yourself to do it because you haven't allowed yourself to stay consistent in something. Because I
Mm-hmm.
wrote down consistency. Like, I kind of believe that we should show up and, like I always get what I want when I want it and blah, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, we do. Absolutely. That's how it works. But the reason we're not getting the results that we want consistently, like clients showing up, money coming in every week or month, however you want to look at consistency, is because we aren't showing up with what we want consistently.
Okay.
So every day there has to be what do I want today? Right. And then as you're getting what you want, you're building self-trust. But the self-trust with human design starts with learning to use your aura. I don't know how far you've gone with learning to use this energy that you carry.
I've throughout my life, I've had a lot of people who were like, like I said, I've always kind of dabbled, and I get a lot of comments on my aura. Like I'd go into a coffee shop and somebody would be like, what? And I later find out that they are very much into reading auras, and that apparently my aura is very confrontational to them or whatever. And I just recently in the past week had somebody comment again, and they were like, wow, you have got some, there's something to it. And I've always sort of felt like, and this is, positive or negative, I feel like, again, I'm like both sides of it. I've always said I'm kind of like a weather maker. If I mean, I could sit on a park bench by myself and the squirrels would start fighting around me if I felt stormy. And so I've sort of always felt that. I feel like I'm more of like a weather maker. And
yeah,
so
you have your own energy system, your own weather making system. It's the energy that sits around you. Yeah.
I mean, I've played around with some of this stuff and been, it's like it kind of just comes secondhand to me. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm willing to accept that I can make that move, or I can do that, I can do those things. And I don't really question it. It just sort of, and now I'm at whatever, finding out
Yeah.
it's not as normal as I think.
Yeah. But why do you want to trust yourself more? Why is that important to you?
Um, because I just feel like it's something that's been plaguing for the first, it's not, plaguing is kind of a strong word. It's been something that has been like a reoccurring theme. Like, I feel like I'm getting traction or momentum towards something. And then I'm like, yeah, am I doing this because I want to do it? Or am I doing it because I can do it? Because I can do a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean you
And
should, right?
exactly.
Yeah. And the generator, your energy is a generator.
Mhm.
And just because you can do the things doesn't mean you should be doing them.
Correct.
Absolutely. Because when you're doing that, you're spilling your aura, you're spilling your energy. And that when you spill energy into the things that aren't really propelling you forward to the things that you want, you're telling the universe, like, what I want isn't really that valuable to me.
Mm.
But how do you know what that is unless you firmly know what it is that you want, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And one of the things for you is to really pay attention to what are the things that really excite you and bring enthusiasm to you. Like, give you energy. Like, I could do this all day and someone would have to pull me out of this office because I just love to do this thing.
Mhm.
And unless you have that thing, right? Because we all start our businesses and we're like, really? I remember thinking, people like do the thing they love for like 15 hours. I couldn't relate.
Mhm.
But then when I found it, I was like, oh, this is why. My family literally we're done with work at 6, Danielle. We're done. We're done. We're done. We're done.
Mhm.
Have you found that yet?
I feel like I find it in, like, I can get really into something, but it might not be what I'm into tomorrow. It's more like the thing for,
Okay. Okay. So what's happening? Okay. Okay. So you're like, I really like the thing today, but then I don't know, it leaves me tomorrow. And so I'm having trouble finding consistency with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of why I lean towards being more like the
Mhm.
coaching being one facet of something that's, has more legs to it than just the singular thing.
What does that
Because
mean?
I do like the doing portion. Like, I'm sort of like playing around with coaching as having like activities that are built into the coaching. So it's sort of like I am facilitating the process and letting the person have the experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you're holding space.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I'm holding more like actual physical space, like making space, like having them create things like objects for themselves.
Do you work in person with people?
I've been doing kind of a combination, but with COVID and everything, it's mainly been virtual.
Okay.
But I have worked in person with like groups of people without like, saying too much. But
I'm really feeling a pull to just ask you what your goal is for your business. Do you have a goal?
I don't have something that's,
Yeah, that's why.
it's very like general, like, I have like a money making goal and that is like in integrity, because I feel like,
Why do you have a money making goal?
um, because it seems clean, like the cleanness of it seems, and like I said, it's like, I don't feel like I can't, like, I'm not going to do something, like, especially when it comes to money, I feel like it'll come to me one way or another if I
But wait,
really
why
focus
then
on
why
it.
do you make a goal money if you already know your belief is it's going to come to me when it comes to me? Like, why is the goal money? A money making goal. It's clean.
It's clean and I feel like it'll force me to pick a lane.
So what's your goal? Like, tell me your goal.
To start a business that in integrity that can generate $100,000 a year and allows me to have autonomy. to be able to move around, which is why I'm trying to like embrace the virtual universe, even though I feel like I lean more into like the in-person stuff. I don't want to have to physically be there all the time. So I've sort of been playing around with having a component of it be in person and a component of it being virtual. And I was an educator, so I'm like used to that sort of like flow of like, okay, we have the school year and then we have the summer and then we have the school year and we get to sort of like reboot. And I think I systemically just sort of like that flow of things, like being able to sort of like have a couple months off to sort of like reboot.
Well,
And
here's
so
what's
I'm trying to set
interesting.
that up.
Here's what's interesting. And it's because you haven't found it yet, but I'm just going to tell you, like the overall goal here for the business that gives you the things that you want, the autonomy, the time freedom, the luxury to travel and all of that, is you're
Mhm.
never really needing to go, well, I need at least 2 months off from it. Or
Mhm.
eventually even, I don't really even need to retire from it because I love this thing,
Mhm.
right? It's like your children. You don't retire from your children. You love them. You
Mhm.
want to stay with them. And like, I'll stay with mine until they tell me, leave me alone. You know what I mean? And that's what we're looking to create with your business.
Mhm.
And so
Okay.
we're right. Cause we don't want to
For sure.
compartmentalize. It's your life. You're going in and you're serving people, whether it's in person, whether it's online, it doesn't matter. You're giving your heart and soul to people.
Mhm.
And so you want it to be what feeds you back,
Mhm.
not what drains your life force. It cannot be that way for generators. And I'm just telling you, I feel like the conditioning here, and conditioning is just like, I thought it was this way. I was told it was this way. It's really not. It's this way.
Mhm.
Is you were told that you had to do things that other people expected you to do in order to be successful. Your business gets to be exactly what you want it to be. The jig is up,
Mm.
right? Especially for you, because you have that defined identity center, you should know exactly where you're going. Right. And what's screaming to me is you don't. So
Mm-mm.
what this means to me is you're living in the lower frequency here, and it's actually driving your decisions and actions.
Okay.
Right. Because we follow, like I'm open here.
Mhm.
Right. And so you're defined and very lit up here. We follow people open. We follow people like you. We're like, oh, look at what she's doing.
Mhm.
Maybe that's something I want to play with and do.
Mhm.
But we
Yeah.
can't do that unless you already know, I know where I'm going. This is the way I'm going. I'm not for everyone, because you're definitely not for everybody.
Mhm.
And you got to own that. You got to pick your lane, and you're not for everyone else. Your goals don't have to be what other people's goals are. Like the money goal doesn't have to be clean. Like none
Mhm.
of that has to be true. None of it.
Okay.
Right. So intuitively, what I'm feeling is you're trying to be really safe and play in a lane.
Mm.
And that's why you're not able to trust yourself, because your soul is like, well, we came here to do these big things. You've already mentioned a few things, the cross of tension. People have said I'm polarizing with my aura.
Mhm.
And it's time to get uncomfortable, or it's time to get not uncomfortable. It's time to get comfortable being uncomfortable to other people.
Mhm.
That's how you call in money. And that's how you start to go, oh, wait a minute. I'm calling in, I'm magnetizing the people that are for me.
Mhm.
Right. Now, I want to get to the sacral, because self-trust is built on, we make decisions. We have our own back on those decisions we've made. And then we go back and go, how did that decision serve me? Take me closer or further away from where I want to be?
Mhm.
And for you specifically, you have an emotional authority, which means your emotions run high, low, all in between.
Mhm.
And until you learn how to use this energy, you make decisions based on how you feel. And inconsistency is high with emotional authorities, because you all make decisions based on how you feel.
Mhm.
I don't feel like showing up today.
Mhm.
It doesn't feel aligned today.
Yeah.
So I'm just not showing up to my business today to serve, because today the feeling isn't there to show up.
Mhm.
And what you have to learn to do with your emotional energy is compartmentalize it in the sense that you're not stuffing it. You're like, I see you. I see you. You've played a big role in my life, and I'm still going forward with the thing. I'm still doing the thing. I'm still showing up. But see how none of this is possible unless you find out what you really want.
Mhm.
And it's concrete. This is what I want. I want $100,000 a year. That's what I want. And I'm not going to let anything stand in my way to figure out how to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when I look back at things, it's like events. Like I like an event that this kind of thing. And so I've
You
been
like to
trying,
invoke feeling into other people.
I like to invoke passion. Like I
Yep.
like people to feel passionate about what they're doing. Like
Yeah.
when I have like my tagline is, declutter, define, design,
Right.
these are the
But
things.
again, Tara, what do you want? Not
Mhm.
how are you going to help people? That's yes, you will provide them all of that.
Mhm.
But why do you want to do that so bad?
I really enjoy seeing like that creative process take off for people. I mean, I've taught like little kids in creative settings, and I like watching, I feel like I really embody that whole teach a man to fish kind of like thing. I'm like, I want you to go and fish and get away from me and prosper on your own. I don't want to be somebody who is just just bolstering you.
Yeah.
And so that I think is where my passion lies, is making people self-sufficient in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. And you've done it. And I know that I can tell that you've seen that click in somebody. And you're like, if I could only do that, like with the
Mhm.
people who I love working with, doing
Mhm.
that for all the time.
Mhm. Do you think with my chart, I feel like I need to be around people? Do you see
Yeah.
that in my chart as being
Yep.
more,
You're
because like
triple split.
I'm a triple split. Okay, I was looking at that this morning because my boyfriend, he's a manifester, and we have like completely different styles, and it makes me crazy because I can't just like sit in a room and do what he does,
Yeah. No,
and he thinks I should
yeah,
be able to,
manifestors are their own, right? Their own energy.
and he
But yeah, the
definitely.
triple split is really, you do best processing, getting information, having information understand it differently, digesting everything, food information, people,
Mhm.
environments, when you are sharing aura energy.
Mhm.
And so all that means is if you're feeling any like creatively stuck energy, like I just can't make this flow for myself, is
Mhm.
hook up with other aura energies. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be in like, with your boyfriend sitting right in front of you, like you got to interact with me. It's more like, where can you go hang out, like co-working spaces or Starbucks or the mall, even like
Mhm.
where can even nature parks. I would recommend that over the mall anytime.
See, I've gotten into like paddle boarding. Like that's going to be one of my things, is I want to do coaching on paddle boards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like leaning towards like activities where people, like I've seen the power of that. And so that's kind of something that I'm leaning more into right now. And, creating like events. But again, it's like the money piece and all that. I mean, but I feel like it'll work itself out. And so I'm also like,
Yeah, it does work itself out, but you have to go in and go, okay, I'm going to create the goal of, okay, say for like the offer of the paddleboarding coaching, which I love. So different, right? So exciting. The goal is I need to create this amount of money over what it's going to cost me.
Mhm.
So the goal is this. So, because goals are really just, we're telling the universe, hey, this is what we want to make on it.
Mhm.
Like, I want to clear this amount of money. We're just telling the universe, I want $100,000 on this next offer that I'm going to launch for the people who you're bringing to me.
Mhm.
After all the expenses are paid and whatever, you're thinking about the event stuff.
Mhm.
That has to be what happens. And so when you're talking to me about this, right? What you said to me was your elevator pitch of, I want to make $100,000 in a year. And I want to make sure that basically it was an elevator pitch. Do you see what I'm saying?
And I mean, I do that. And then I go back and I start to second guess myself and I go, okay, do I really
Yeah.
want to do this? Come on. I mean,
Because to you, what's more fun is the paddleboarding coaching.
Mhm.
Like I've been looking for like a spark of enthusiasm with our entire call. I've always, because I know your chart, I know what I was getting into. And I'm like, where's her enthusiasm? What does she want actually? And I'm like, now that I'm hearing it, you're going to get ideas like that.
Oh, I have them all the time.
Yeah.
I'm full of ideas. The problem is I get like, I mean, when you say that I'm like very emotionally, I just am like, okay, having an off day or something. And I feel like when I do, I know what it feels like to bring it, to feel excited about something. So when I'm not feeling like bringing it, I mean, it's very obvious that I'm phoning it in.
Okay.
And I
So
don't
what
know
I
how
want
to
you to
bridge
do with
that.
your ideas is you need to start learning how to use your emotional authority. This is what it
Okay.
all boils down to. And this is going to help you with the self-trust.
Okay.
So you
How do I
have
do
got
that?
to start filtering your emotional energy. Like, this is how I teach my clients how to do it. You go, first of all, is this emotional energy even mine?
Mhm.
Is it
I
mine?
do pick up. Yep.
Is it, if it's not mine, let it go. And if you're still like, I'm not sure if it's mine or not, go be by yourself, because the auras pick up energy from other auras. Just go be by yourself for 20 to 30 minutes. And then I want you to start checking your ideas and your inspirations against this authority. So, okay, at a neutral place, do I still want to do it right now? If it's a yes, write it down. Yes, it's a yes.
Mhm.
And I want you to check it again in 8 hours. This same idea. Is it still a yes?
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Still a yes in 8 hours. Then I want you to sleep on it. And I want you to go to it again in the morning. Does this still, first of all, am I emotionally neutral? Every time you're checking in, regulate yourself, get to an emotionally neutral space. And then the third time, after you've had a nice night of sleep, am I still a yes on this? Feel pretty, yeah, I feel 80% there. I'm a yes. I'm going to continue to go to do this. And then you stick with it even when you wake up the next day and don't feel like doing it. That's not what it means. You make a decision. Yes, this is the offer. This is what I'm offering people. This is the price. I trust they're coming. And then the next day when it feels like, God, no, I don't want to, that doesn't sound like appealing at all. You go, yeah, well, I made a decision and I'm sticking to it. That's the only way you're going to learn how this authority works for you. Because the worst that can happen is you get through the experience and you go, I would do this differently, I think. I might not spend this much money on this event. Maybe I would go and, find another venue, or next time I would do this. That's the only way you're going to find that, because you're the 1-3, you're a trial and error personality. But that self-trust isn't there because you haven't allowed yourself to trial and error and have your own back through that trial and error, even when it's emotionally messy.
Yeah, I feel like I have this weird combination. So I'd be really interested to see if it's in my chart. Because I mean, like if somebody said, get up on the table, do this, or what, I'd be like, fine. I don't have any problem with any of this. It's like I have a
If
really
somebody said,
weird
get up on the table,
like people are scared to do things like get up and sing a song or do whatever. I mean, I can't sing, but there's like nothing that like, I don't have that same fear thing. And I
is that
just,
a problem?
no, it's not. But I feel like in terms of like relating to other people, like they think that that's something. Like, I feel like I don't have the fear thing. It's like when somebody jumps out and the person doesn't like spook. I'm like, I just I have a different structure as far as that goes mentally.
Yeah, but I think you're maybe kidding yourself because you don't trust yourself and you're not, like solid in the direction. So you're really, the fear is I'm afraid to trust myself. Like deeper, that's the deeper subconscious thing. Like, right. We have to work our ways to that. Like, I don't know, I don't know if I'm afraid of that, but if you came to me and said, I'm looking to trust myself more, the obvious, and then I don't have any fear. Well, there's a bridge we're trying to build there, because you say you want to trust yourself more, but I don't have any fear.
Okay.
What
Yeah,
if
I mean,
you just trusted yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I've always sort of described, it's like I have, like, talk about the castle and the fortress. It's like people can get in a lot closer, but once they get to a certain point, there's like, electric fences and shards of glass and all sorts of stuff. But I feel like my comfort level is a lot greater than most people. So people read me as being a certain way when it's not the case. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. But it doesn't matter what other people read you as.
I mean, you say that, but then it's like I'm trying to, like, I think that that's the dissonance that's happening, like between like putting myself out there as a coach. I'm like, do these people really even like know? I don't know.
Well, without knowing like anything about your branding and your marketing, like I can tell you right now, you're not polarizing enough. If you're still concerned with what other people are saying about you or interpreting you as, you haven't gotten to a point in your identity center where you're like, it is who I am. None of you, I don't spend time worrying about the people who don't like what I'm saying or think I say the F word too much. Like I don't spend time worrying about that. Right. I'm too busy helping my private clients and serving and providing a shitload of content for people. Right. Like I'm in that sphere of my brand. That's who I am. And that's what I'm doing. But you're still have mental energy to think other people are perceiving me in a certain way. And none of that matters.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. But I would start with that emotional authority and really start just having your own back on the decisions, even when you want to change your mind in 48 hours. You just have to start that process of trial and erroring your emotional authority for sure. Yeah. Was that helpful?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I do homework. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So some of the things, like I was telling you in the beginning, like some of the things, they'll hit you in the next few days of like, oh, yeah. But I like to always just say, trust that what you're getting, your soul is like bringing you all the pieces to make it all like pieces of a puzzle until it finally comes together and makes that the full picture for you. But keep yourself aware of your surroundings. So you're like, what is coming in to make all of this make sense to me in a way that I can actually move forward and embody what it is that I'm here to do.
Yeah, I feel like that the pieces is that I feel like I can will those things into being for myself. And so it's like it's like I feel like I'm open to so much. Like when you were saying, I feel like I'm very much like an empath. Like I can go into a space and like feel everybody. And so like that's even, I think there was something that you actually put on one of your podcasts that was like, you need to put up a screen and screen out some of that stuff. And I'm like, I was like, that is so me. It's like, I definitely am willing to like take on that stuff too easily. So
yeah.
Any other tips for the
you gotta
emotion?
just be like, yeah, like why am I taking all that on? No, I'm not available for it. You literally have to become unavailable for anything other than what you want. Like I tell everybody, I am not available for anything that isn't joy producing or income producing or some level of that.
I like that.
Because that's how that's how I operate. And that's how other people benefit from me. That's how I can show up and bring so much value in my free content is because I am doing all the things outside of my business and hanging around the people and in conversation with people, things, environments that bring me joy or bring me income, period. If that isn't it, then I need to go like recenter myself or, like spend time alone and think, wait, is this me? Because you're an empath. You're going to get distracted by the other energy out there. It's going to happen. But you have to be like, whoa, wait a minute. I just spent the last 3 hours like actually caring what other people thought. That's not me. Because what's happening is because you're open head and Ansha. So you're putting in, you're literally taking on other people's worries, doubts, and fears. So if you're in an environment with your triple split and you're like, I got to go hang out in the coffee shop today. And you're all of a sudden thinking, God, I don't know if, this business will even work, or how is so-and-so doing it? You got to go, wait a minute. Who am I around? Because that isn't me. You just have to be careful with that while you're navigating this triple split and learning your authority. Yeah, it's a dance.
How do you, yeah. I mean, and I've always been like that. Like I could listen to a song on a radio or something and just literally sob. And my mother would be like, what is the problem? And I'm like, I don't know, the singer. And then you find out the singer had some sort of, I feel like I feel things.
Yeah, you do. You have the emotional energy to feel. You're meant to feel. You're just not meant to make decisions from it.